Hey y'all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Oona O'Leary.
And this week's a special one, because as everyone in America should know, we're voting next week.
If we haven't already.
Yeah, if we haven't already, and you're a daredevil like I am, apparently.
Oh my God, Dusty.
Look, I'm bad at mail. I'm bad at communication. I'm bad at texting and phones and email. You know, everything that makes the world work, because I am an old man, apparently.
Yes.
I do telegrams and I do in-person conversations. Yeah, so I'm going to be walking across the street to the senior apartments to cast my vote for, for a decent human being, not named Donald Trump. And as much as I usually advocate voting for third parties, I would say maybe do that for down ballot races instead this year.
It's what down ballot's for.
Maybe, please. Punish the Libertarians for not nominating Vermin Supreme.
Oh my God.
If you're in
Illinois, Rocky's not even available.
Which is such bullshit. Of all the states where Rocky should be on the ballot, it should be on goddamn Illinois. I should walk into that fucking polling station and have myself a moral quandary about whether I'm voting for Joe Biden or the king of all people, Rocky De La Fuente.
No, you shouldn't! There's no quandary!
I am furious.
Well, I'm already stressed out, so tell me where we're going.
Well, today's episode is going to be a bit of a mishmash, a combination, an anthology, if you will, of all of the best chance third-party candidates in the major races going on. And currently, there are 3 that we're going to be talking about. But first, I want to talk about an honorable mention that I just found out about today.
Ooh.
So to begin with, there are probably a ton of state congressional races that are going to be close or potentially winnable for third parties. But I wanted to pick the one that, to me, felt like the best chance for a third to win, which takes us to the 55th State House District of Wyoming. Now, this district contains Riverton, a small city of a little more than 10,000 people. The city has been represented in the State House by Republican David Miller since the year 2000. But in 2012, a new competitor would enter the chat. Libertarian Bethany Baldus.
Bethy.
I mean, it's rare. It's a woman libertarian, so we're already in uncharted waters.
Yeah.
Her first race didn't go so hot, and she only netted about 5.5% of the vote. But at the age of 29, she would return in 2018 to face Miller once again. This time, though, Miller had the clout of being the State House Majority Leader, which made it all the more surprising when Bethany lost by only 53 votes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very impressive race. But now Bethany is back for 2020, and David Miller full-on resigned from politics. He is 18 years and he is done. And Bethany also expanded her local resume to serving on the board of the Central Wyoming Children's Center for Art, Technology, and Science, and is the founder of Local Ladies, a Facebook group that promotes local businesses in the Riverton area.
A Facebook group.
I know, after my own heart. So Bethany will be facing lawyer Ember Oakley, and after such a strong performance against an 18-year incumbent, it's looking like Bethany has an incredible chance of not just winning, but becoming the first libertarian ever elected to state office in Wyoming, a state where libertarianism is actually very popular.
I would imagine. I mean, don't they have like a representative for the federal house?
Nope.
Oh, they have more than one?
Like that's a libertarian or?
Oh, no. I meant like,
in
Wyoming,
the actual
it's
house.
So sparsely populated that I remember looking at like district mapping for state reps, and it's just why, like, they have 2 senators and 1 House representative.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
But typically whenever they've run Republicans, the Republicans that kind of lean towards libertarianism in a couple of ways, so people are less likely to switch over. But in this particular race, I mean, Bethany is a lifelong resident of Riverton, so everyone there knows her. Compared to Ember, who moved from Laramie at some point. She is a native of Wyoming, and her family's been there for 5 generations.
Ooh.
But Bethany's, I mean, she's a hometown lady.
Yeah.
She's proven to them that she wants to work and she wants to represent them. And so the Libertarian Party of Wyoming actually has a chance on this one. So honorable mention to Bethany Baldus, you 31-year-old overachiever. Why are all the overachievers always younger than us? Why can't they just be middle achievers?
Yeah, well, they don't have a podcast.
Yeah, take that, Bethany, you probably decent human.
We're in our 30s, but we have a podcast.
We finally caught up with the thousands of others in the world. But we did it, damn it. So now that our honorable mention is done and over with, it's time for our first of the big 3. And for that, we're going to look at the Alaska Senate race. Now, currently the race is between incumbent Dan Sullivan, who's a Republican, and Al Gross, who is technically an independent. The way things are in Alaska right now is for the primaries, Republicans run their own primary, and then there is a primary for everyone else all at once. And so independents, Democrats, and the party that we're going to be talking about today just all kind of run together. And the Democrats came up with a little bit of a deal in 2016.
Mm.
So what they decided to do is that they would support independent candidates. And then when those independents won, they would endorse them. And this would be their way of getting around the anti-Democrat bias that a lot of Alaskans have. And so now independents can run who are Democrats, but that name is not next to them on the ballot.
I love it.
And so far, it's kind of working.
A rose by any other name.
Yeah. Well, and they won a lawsuit this year to be able to continue to do that, despite people being like, this guy's clearly a Democrat. Why aren't you labeling him as such?
Why aren't you voting for him?
And yeah, in the House race this year, it looks like Elise Galvin has a strong chance of beating out the long-term incumbent Don Young. And yeah, and this year, Al Gross is performing pretty well. A couple of polls have had him beating out Dan Sullivan.
Ooh.
But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Okay.
So Oona, this is going to be a bit of a rewind.
Hey.
I believe it was episode 4 that we talked about a political party called the Alaskan Independence Party.
Oh, yes.
Well, when we did that episode, I had pretty much put the tombstone on top of the party. They hadn't updated their website in about a decade. They really weren't running anyone anymore. They were just kind of there as more of a memorial of what once was. Yes. At one point, they had the governor of Alaska was an Alaskan Independence Party member, and the party just kind of died off. Well, Oona, literally 2 months after we did that episode, the Alaskan Independence Party came back.
They heard your call.
Well, not quite. As much as I would love to pretend that's the reason.
Worked.
I mean, we should not be taking credit for it because part of the reason that they started to resurge is that their party chairman died.
Oh, was he also buried in Yukon?
Oh my God. Funny thing. So their chairman is a woman by the name of Lynette Clark, who had been their chairman for at least the past decade. But she was also known as Yukon Yonda. And so much like Alaskan Independent Party members, she held many, many jobs. She was a prospector. She was a tourism person. She did, I believe, machinery things. She did salmon stuff. She did everything. And people fucking loved her.
This is what happened. You can look at all the dreams you're allowed to follow when you're given a universal basic income. That's all I want to say.
100 fucking %.
You don't have to live your best life. You can live your best lives. You can do it all.
There's a bit of a catch-up, too, for the people who haven't gotten to the Alaskan Independence Party episodes and are new here. The Alaskan Independence Party was founded by Joe Vogler, a man who was a prospector and miner. He loved suing people, and he hated America so much, to the point that he vowed that he would be buried in Yukon, Canada, so long as Alaska was not free. And he is still buried in Yukon after he was not really assassinated. He was murdered in an explosives deal gone wrong. You know, traditional politics. And the Alaskan Independence Party, like I said, they ended up winning the governorship in 1990, if I'm remembering correctly. But the guy very quickly went back to being a Republican, really didn't try to advocate for Alaskan independence, and the party fell apart after that.
Yeah.
So that's the basic understanding of the Alaskan Independence Party. But after the death of Lynette Clark, the party would gather shortly after and elect adjunct professor and pro-life activist Bob Byrd as their new chairman.
Oh boy.
So previously, Bob was the AKIP nominee for the U.S. Senate in 2008, when he came in third with 4.15% of the vote. I almost forgot, too, in Alaska, there are 3 major parties: Republicans, Democrats, and the Alaskan Independence Party. And this is despite the fact that the Alaskan Independence Party has been essentially dead for a decade. They have still maintained major party status.
Good for them. I'm a little proud of them.
You fucking did it. So the first thing Bob did when he took over is he went to the party's website and updated it for the first time since 2010. And in doing so, he also made an update to let people know what the fuck has been going on for the past decade. And he throws the problems back to the party convention that they held in 2010. And during that time, a lot of people showed up to the party convention. The problem, though, is as he described it, most of them were well-wishers, Republicans, people who kind of had the same ideas and were just curious to be there. And at the end of the convention, they weren't able to get enough people to actually join the party to be able to raise funds and dues.
Oh, all these people were AKIP curious.
Mm-hmm. It's a little better than AFI know. But yeah, 100%. People were more worried that if they joined the AKIP, they would not be able to vote in Republican primaries anymore. And so they viewed that Republican vote as far more powerful than joining a party that they may or may not have been more inclined, theoretically. Is that the word?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if they all came together, like it
Yeah.
actually, it would. They're
Yeah.
not. It's
Yeah.
not just one drop in a bucket; it's an ocean.
Exactly. It's the whole thing that if everyone who doesn't vote got together and voted for the same person, that person would win.
Yes, terrifyingly so.
Yeah. So under Byrd's leadership, he called for a party convention to be held in Anchorage in this October, literally like 3 weeks ago. He stated his goals were that the party would continue to honor Joe Vogler's insistence that the people of Alaska had not been given a legitimate vote for statehood, and that the state should be given a new vote based on the 1945 UN Charter that had defined Alaska as a non-self-governing territory, and as such should have 4 options for versions of independence, whether it be statehood, independence, or options in between. I imagine Commonwealth is in there and other sorts of things that we give to other territories that we run.
Yeah.
And so the Alaskan Independence Party very much wants to stress they are not a separatist organization anymore. All they want is one more vote on Alaskan statehood, and for this one to count, and for it to uphold the laws of the UN, a thing conservatives love.
Yeah, a thing the US doesn't trash on a regular basis.
Bob also insisted that the AKIP take more of a what he called family-friendly stance. And by this, he means that he wanted the party to have a stronger focus on making abortion, marriage, and LGBTQ rights as a state issue. In other words, he wants to ban abortion and get rid of all civil rights laws for LGBTQ plus people.
Yeah, that's a hard no from me, dog.
Yeah, it's not great. Like, look, we'll give you an election. It's not going to work, but we'll give it to you just to see what the fuck happens.
Fine.
Yeah, but the shit, no. In Byrd's words, quote, I hope to have the party become a new haven for Christians and free market entrepreneurs who are ready, at last, to walk away from the GOP. So if you've started your own business and you love Jesus, this is the Venn diagram for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like when you have land and a lot of space between people, it's like, isn't it enough you can just keep silent about these
Yeah, you can technically
fastidious
have these
needs?
bad ideas all on your own and not get in
Yeah,
trouble. There's
I just-
literally no one around you,
I feel like
depending where you are.
part of the ideal is just like, I'll come help you out if your tractor's stuck in snow, but otherwise, the whole point is like, you're gonna leave me the fuck alone.
Yep. Bob finished his opening statement to the party by supplying his cell phone number, but notes it is a flip phone, so any text should be kept short. Also, I don't have call ID, so don't be offended if I end up asking who's calling or texting.
No.
Yeah. Well, and he was wanting to do this because he didn't want people to think that he was unilaterally taking over the party. He wanted other opinions to come in. He was just kind of giving his treatise on what he wants the AKIP to become, kind of as a way to guiding it towards the convention in October to kind of set a baseline.
And then his phone was overrun with text being like, bro, what are you doing?
New flip phone, who this? So this month, the party would enact many of Bob's ideas into their official platform, along with a plank that stated they would rewrite the Alaska State Constitution to declare that all rights come directly from God.
I mean, yeah, you're definitely going to need a separate country for that.
Yeah. It's, Alaska seems too independent to be totally fine with a theocracy, but look, what do I know? I'm just some chump in an apartment.
I feel like if you're, I don't know, I'm thinking of like the whole white fangness of Alaska. I just feel like its very essence allows you the appreciation for, I don't know, that God maybe isn't some like vengeful dude who just really hates abortion. It's more like, wow, I could be eaten by a bear. Like your priorities are just different in a better way.
Yeah, in Alaska, God is the wolf that is closest to you.
Yes! 100%.
So at the October convention, people started to get a better idea of how well things were going for the Alaskan Independence Party, and a lot of this comes from the Anchorage Daily News. During the presentations, there were 2 AKIP candidates for the state house who claimed that the GOP were begging them to drop out, and these appear to be nominees Tim Hewitt and Dan Nees. Now, I both believe them and don't, because on one hand, I mean, it's a good way to kind of raise people's hackles to be like, how dare you take away my voice and force my candidate to drop out? I think as progressive Democrats, we're very aware of that anger.
Yep, we live with it. It's fine.
But on the other hand, these are places where there is a Republican and a Democrat running, And the Republicans have a genuine fear that this more ultra mega Christian independence movement might take away some of their more right-wing votes and lead to a Democrat winning,
Well,
which fucking sorry.
yeah, it sucks to suck.
That's
You're
how
the one who
votes
had your
work.
own primary for ages and just had this like chattel roll call of everyone else.
Yeah, you guys got caught with your pants down. The AKIP is back, and they don't have time for you to go get a belt. So even better in this whole world, there's a state Senate nominee and chiropractor by the name of Greg Madden, who in the Alaska State Senate District P, which is funny to me because I'm a child, since October, this candidate, Greg Madden, has raised more money than his opponent, Republican Gary Stevens, and actually might have a chance to win because typically the more money you have, the better chance you have at winning.
Yep.
And no Democrats running, so Alaska might end up getting another AKIP nominee into their fucking state house.
Hey!
But that's not who we're here to talk about. I'm not talking about state races anymore, Oona. I stopped that shit with Bethany because Bethany earned it.
Bethany did earn it. Good for her.
The big surprise comes from their nominee for U.S. Senate, a fellow by the name of John Wayne Howe. The fun fact with that, when you try to look him up on YouTube, you just get a lot of John Wayne clips from various movies of him punching men and then being like, yeah, he did a man. He did man everywhere.
Yeah. Wait, why do I keep watching The Searchers?
Put on McClintock and lighten up the joint. So the big thing about John Wayne Howe, there was a poll conducted by the New York Times on October 14th that showed that he had a potential to get 10% of the vote.
Double digits?
Yep, double digits. To which, according to the Anchorage Daily News, when Bob Byrd read that, he literally said, wow, that's huge. And then turned the page. Because it's Alaska and there's wolves. You can't let the wolves hear that you're happy. They'll eat you. They feed on happiness. Now, there isn't a ton of info about John on his website. In fact, his website sucks. His site only has 4 tabs. One leads to the AKIP party website. There's another page directing people to register to vote. A page titled, quote, money, that advocates for a slow return to not just the gold standard, but also silver, copper, and other precious metals that might be able to fill the void.
What am I going to do with copper prices?
Look, don't you want to take your dollar and exchange it for an ingot of copper?
Most of Detroit's already been stripped clean. I have no reason to know this.
And there is a page with links to interviews, but none of them are hot linked. So you got to copy paste that shit. And the funny thing is everything else on his website's fucking hot linked, so I don't know what the fuck happened. This is simple shit, John. Come on.
This is the last thing he did. He got tired.
Yeah.
The step.
So outside of that, though, it's a bit easier to find out who John is once you start exploring the other interviews.
Oh, once you try?
Yeah. Once you copy and paste the fucking links. And it's pretty easy to find out that John is a machine shop operator from Fairbanks, Alaska, a job which he claims he took because he loves designing and creating things.
Oh.
He's also been an AKIP member since at least 1988 when he first ran for office in Alaska State House, where he finished third with 4.59% of the vote. As a candidate, John has fit in very well to the reinvigorated AKIP. He's very pro-gun, stating that we do not currently have gun rights, we have limited, which I think he means limited rights or limitations. It's kind of hard to tell from the quote. But for an example that he gives, John notes that it is illegal to send guns through the mail, as it probably should be.
Yeah.
It's a big problem with Lee Harvey Oswald. He kind of ordered a gun and then used it to kill a president without a background check.
Like, I hate to have a perfect example from history that actually happened of why we would put this law in place because the worst outcome already happened.
But do you have a second?
Do you have a moment for gun rights?
Well, I think John's about to change your mind because he states that since the USPS is a federal agency, they should be bound by the Constitution to uphold the Second Amendment and send guns. I believe that is called checkmate.
I believe that is called words put together.
I see where he's going with it. It doesn't make it any more correct.
It has exactly the same logic of thought as any other scream in the night for the Second Amendment.
Yep.
I feel like all of them are just like, well, if I say a couple words correctly together, Nick Cage will appear with the Constitution.
Oh my God.
And I'll be able to have an AK-47 in my house.
I mean, look, if you can pull that off, I'm not going to fight you for that gun because you've clearly planned this better than I. John is also anti-tax and suggests that instead of taxing people and Congress voting on where that money goes, people should just independently fund whatever programs they want. Do you like SNAP programs? Send up some money. Do you like roads? Send the Department of Transportation some money.
I hate to inform him, but that's kind of what's already happening. Like, let's look at charities in America. I am like, all of my money is actually going towards things that my taxes should be going towards, regardless.
That is an excellent point. Oh my God.
Like,
Oh, what's this gap in things we should be doing? Fucking fine.
yeah.
But Una, don't you want more options to do that?
I have more options to do that with every GoFundMe from a friend of mine who's a teacher in CPS.
Yep. Not wrong. But finally, and this is I think at least one of the two things that really pushes John over the top with these other compared to other third-party candidates. And that he wants to build a road between Fairbanks and Nome, Alaska.
Yes.
So for those of you
Oh my God, a road to Nowhere.
Where's the delete button?
You take the bridge to nowhere and you get off the first exit. I will be leaving now.
I'm going to call wolves. I'm going to call all the wolves. So yeah, now that you've tainted this pure project.
I regret nothing.
Yeah, so for those of you who aren't familiar with getting around in Alaska, it isn't easy. There's a lot of glaciers and mountains and forests and marshes.
And have we mentioned wolves?
And wolves. There are wolves blocking where roads would be. And frankly, they have better architects, so we just let them go.
Yep.
But it's incredibly difficult to get from, say, one city to another. There are major cities that do have highways between them, and there are road systems throughout the state. But just as an example, the capital city of Juneau, there is no way that you can drive to Juneau. The only way to get there is to get there by plane. And as we learned in the Alaskan Independence Party episode, Joe Vogler did have an idea to fix that, and that was, I believe, nuke the coast so you can make roads.
Yes, that's correct.
It was slightly flawed.
It made no fucking sense.
But very much like Juneau, there's no way to drive to Nome from Fairbanks. So what Alaska does have is a number of sort of interstate flight systems where you can fly from these small towns between each other, usually a lot of smaller turboprop planes or planes that can land on lakes and things like that, but it's not cheap. As of right now, if you wanted to take a flight from Fairbanks to Nome, it would cost you about $550 for the trip.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, you're flying from a large city to a much, much smaller town, and you got to recoup those costs somehow.
This is what makes me so angry is all of these people are always talking, like all these politicians are always talking about fair market this and free market that. And so what you're telling me is there's like, what, two guys who run maybe two prop plane businesses, and between them, it's like, yeah, well, it's $500. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Drive there?
Yep.
Oh, now
pretty much.
Now I'm mad.
Yeah. Well, and this is why the idea of a road between Fairbanks to Nome, it's not a bad idea. And part of the other issue, too, is that when you get to these more remote towns, I mean, already in Alaska, shit is so much more expensive just because you have to ship it there. You have to get it through Canada, so you're paying dues, or you have to ship it there. It is not a cheap thing to do. And so when you get to these more rural towns like Nome, that price goes even higher up because now you have to ship it again. You have to go through dangerous waters. You have to fly it over the fucking mountains to get it there. And it's really, really hard to live if you're not making a lot of money and a loaf of bread is like $13 or something.
Yeah.
So if you had a road from Fairbanks to Nome, suddenly it's so much cheaper to get stuff there. People can actually afford to buy food. People can afford to buy household items, things like that. Tourism ends up rising, and there's a bigger chance for industry and businesses to grow. It is a huge potential for both Fairbanks and Nome. And then you hear John's plan on how to do it. Una, are you ready? No. I don't see any boos. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
So John stresses that you actually really wouldn't need to spend that much money to begin with. In fact, no money for the first few years, because you already have GPS. And if you wanted, people could combine snow machine tracks and dog trails and hiking paths and eventually just make a road out of that. And people would technically be legally obliged to use it if they wanted. And sure, it may be, as he said, a muddy, swampy mess, but the base would be there and you could totally get there if you wanted. And then years later, we might be able to afford to actually make a real road.
This is so incredibly lazy. This is so lazy. Like, one, I'm offended at just how lazy it is. I'm not even going to touch the environmental factor. That's just
Yeah,
a
as we all know, the
nightmare.
AKIP is very fond of the environment.
But then too, it's like, what do you want to be? Boston? Come on. Do you know the ramifications from just using old cow paths? It's a nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the plan.
That's not a plan.
Yeah, that's asking other people to do your homework, essentially.
And also, I still don't know how they're eventually paying for the road. He's just saying, like, hey, lose an axle or two as you try to make your own frontier goddamn way to Nome
Yeah.
in a Kia Sonata in fucking Alaska.
Oh man, the road the road paved with dead Kias.
Did he just look at the cover of Cormac McCarthy's The Road and be like, you know what? I'm onto something here.
Ooh.
I'm not going to read the book.
No,
I'm just going to look at the title.
I bet it's great. Well, and then comes to the other thing that might be getting him a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Favorability than one would expect. And it's worse. So there's currently a project in Alaska called the Pebble Mine. Now, the Pebble Mine is a lode of copper, gold, and molybdenum, long rare metal. But there's copper and gold there, and we know what that is. You use that to back up money. But it also just happens to be the second largest deposit of that sort in the entire world, and the second only to the Grasberg mine in Indonesia.
Oh no, this won't end well.
Oh no. So the problem, though, is, well, a lot of things. For one, the area where the potential mine is located is also home to the world's largest salmon run, which supplies about 75% of the jobs in the area.
Oh, geez.
And if the mine turns out anything like the Grasberg mine did, then those waterways are at humongous risk of acidic mine runoff.
Oh, my heart hurts.
Now, the Army Corps of Engineers has stated there are ways to be able to make this mine work, and as long as people don't fuck up, everything should be fine.
No, that's impossible. There's no world where there isn't a fuck up, especially when it comes to mines, especially when it comes to the Army Corps of Engineers. Like, God bless them, but like, I'm just saying, levees don't always hold up.
Yeah. Well, and this was a report done by the Army Corps of Engineers in 2020, so they might have a little bit of a Department of Interior push to say, yeah, this will be good.
Oh no, could we just maybe leave it alone? Can that be an option, please?
But money, but money in ground. We could make 30 laptops with all this metal.
Strip my building of the copper if you need it so badly. God.
Well, and it gets worse. So there's only about 300 people who kind of live in this area, which makes it all the more important that if you fuck up their salmon run, 3/4 of them are out of a job. The second biggest industry there is sport fishing tourism. So that's
of course.
Gone. But
to say nothing of the delicious salmon.
Salmon's so good. But have you had it covered in copper?
Oh my God. It's so tangy.
But the extra potential fuck you is that more than 30 tribes of indigenous peoples rely on the region for salmon, moose, and caribou hunting to sustain their fucking traditions. But it's Alaska, and the AKIP, despite being kind of founded by a dude who represented First Nations people in Alaska and repeatedly lost, yay, Don Wright, they kind of seem to not give a fuck about the people who were there first.
No.
A lot of the idea behind the AKIP is we should be able to use Alaska however the fuck we want, and just completely ignores the indigenous folks and First Nation folks who are like, well, it's technically ours, so get the fuck out.
Yeah, when we said independence, we meant from you.
So the one kind of nice thing we have going here is the Pebble Mine has not been started. Currently, Al Gross has been very adamantly against the mine. Incumbent Senator Dan Sullivan has had a much more complicated relationship, though. In September, he came out against the mine, but this last week, The Intercept found out that Dan's brother Frank runs RPM International, the primary lobbying firm for the mine.
Oh boy.
And it's a lobbying company that Dan also happens to partially own.
Oh boy.
It also doesn't help that The Intercept also found audio of mining executives assuring each other that Dan Sullivan actually does support the mine in private. So while Dan is dealing with all that, John Wayne Howe has staked himself as the only candidate that is unequivocally in support of the mine and wants to open it as soon as fucking possible.
Oh boy. Well, at the very least, it's like, you know what? Fine. A politician taking a stand. I know exactly where you stand on this issue. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Small mercies.
Please, no one vote for him.
Yeah. Which brings us to the favorite topic of this. Can he win? No, he cannot. Definitely cannot win. So one of the things that you usually find after a surprising third-party poll is that there's kind of an oh shit reaction, and people tend to flock back to one of the two major parties once the worry of losing due to voting third party starts to become a reality. And that is exactly what the fuck happened in Alaska.
Amazing.
The most recent poll since Howe scored 10% now has him down to about 3. And while Sullivan is facing criticism and a very strong Democrat-endorsed competitor in Al Gross, it looks as though Sullivan might gain another term as senator, depending on how people vote. But all in all, this is a huge resurgence for the AKIP, and like it or not, they might be back for a while.
And now with Jesus in their hearts.
Ooh, all right. It's time to part 2. It gets worse.
Damn it, Dusty. Why do we record this on a Monday?
Look, we're at maximum sad.
I know. It snowed earlier. My heart is weeping openly.
I haven't seen the sun in 4 days.
I just want salmon.
Oh, man. All right. So for part 2, we're moving to Indiana, a sentence no child ever wants to hear. So for this particular race, we're going to be talking about the governor race. And it features 3 people, as we've come to expect. First, there's the incumbent Republican, a man by the name of Eric Holcomb. Now, Eric served as an advisor to the Republican Governor Mitch Daniels from 2003 to 2011, became the chairman of the state GOP after that, and in 2016 became Mike Pence's lieutenant governor after a previous person resigned. However, Pence would eventually be tapped to be Trump's vice president, and once Pence dropped out of the race for governor, Holcomb threw his hat in, and in 2 ballots, the state GOP chose him as their new nominee. Holcomb would end up winning an abnormally close race with 51.3% of the vote. And he's kind of an interesting guy just because no one really knew much about him to begin with. He's very much middle management's not the right word. He's just the guy behind the scenes doing all the work and, pulling the late nights and just doing shit. He knows where everything is in the filing cabinets.
Got it.
The Democrats, however, would nominate a guy by the name of Woody Myers. And I mean, look, I'm sure Woody's a very nice guy, but the Democrats did not do themselves any favors when they essentially got everyone else to drop out and support Woody Myers, a candidate that a lot of the folks I follow refer to as either a B or C list candidate.
Ooh. Oh no.
And it also should be noted that a lot of Woody's past political positions were held about 2 decades ago. He was the health commissioner of Indiana from 1985 to 1990, and then left that job to serve as the health commissioner of New York City for a little more than a year, before resigning amidst rumors of discontent over his various planned policies and a citywide budget cut that would have completely ruined all of his plans anyway. So Myers made his name during the HIV/AIDS crisis and was a supporter of Ryan White, a student who had been banned from his high school for having the disease. But Myers also supported an Indiana law that was proposed that would have made a database of everyone who had HIV or AIDS, and then would quarantine people who refused to adhere to safety guidelines, such as safe sex or letting their partners know that they had the disease. But in the 80s, a time in which people were paranoid as fuck about AIDS and knew literally nothing about it and were kind of happy not to know anything about it, people who had this disease were fucking demonized. Yeah. And so the idea of creating a database of people who had the disease in a Republican state, that just spells disaster and persecution, because that list will be leaked.
And can't stress enough, it was like the 80s, like Indiana in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that,
as we all know, Indiana in the 80s was full of Lovecraftian type monsters that would descend upon the children while the adults were mostly clueless. Indiana. And then there's AIDS. But yeah, it was a really tough, weird time full of just knee-jerk reactions and shitty people making very bad decisions. And so when Woody ended up getting to New York City, many AIDS advocates there completely viewed him with a large amount of distrust, to the point that he really couldn't get anything done while he was there. And he would back down and say he no longer supported that idea as a law, but the damage had already been done. So after a year, he stated health issues and decided to move back to Indiana. And while there, he would work for the next couple decades, working for various large-scale health hospitals, as well as Blue Cross Blue Shield. Just kind of dove right into the industry in general. He would also run in the Democratic primary against Representative Andre Carson, but was only able to get about 24% of the vote. And sure, getting a health expert as your nominee in the midst of a pandemic would normally feel like a no-brainer, but Woody has not been a good candidate. You can really kind of get an idea of what his skill level is when it comes to campaigning just from watching the beginning of the Indiana gubernatorial debate. He, at best, sounds uninspiring, and at worst, completely cluttered. His opening statement, he doesn't even finish. It's just kind of all over the place, and there's a lot of gaps. It's not good.
Oh, no.
Which now leads us to the person who might sneak in and do something very weird. And Una, we're talking about our first big party libertarian, a fellow by the name of Donald Rainwater.
Donald Rainwater.
So the reason that Donald might end up getting very popular, a little something called COVID. Now, you
He
see,
has it.
Governor Holcomb, compared to other Republican governors, has tried. He has honestly tried very fucking hard within his party to get something fixed and to work. In the past year, Holcomb has issued 46 executive orders, the majority of which dealing directly with COVID. Now, this is compared to 3 that he made in 2019 and 10 that he made in 2018, most of those dealing with a large-scale catastrophic flood. But the most controversial of his executive orders this last year was one called 20-37, the face covering requirement. Initially, this order would have established not wearing a mask in public during the pandemic as a Class B misdemeanor, which would be punishable with up to $1,000 in fines and or 180 days in jail. Some other examples of Class B misdemeanors include possession of marijuana, public intoxication, or battery.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
And while this may seem like a pretty great way to staunch the spread of a pandemic, other Indianans felt otherwise. Police departments began to state that they wouldn't enforce the new order. Business owners and citizens began complaining that forcing them to wear a mask was a direct violation of them being allowed to be inconsiderate assholes whenever they wanted. But worst of all came from Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill. Wait, I didn't read his full title. Attorney General and Sexual Batterer Curtis Hill.
Oh, Indiana.
Turns out, Hill had groped at least 4 women during a party in 2018, one of which was a state representative. And a lot of people thought that, maybe he shouldn't be Attorney General of this, the whole state.
Yeah.
Governor Holcomb would agree, but he was unable to get Hill to leave or legally force him out, despite the fact that he got his law license revoked for a month. And Holcomb would go to the Indiana State Supreme Court and be like, so since he doesn't have a law license, can I remove him from being Attorney General since he can't practice law?
Oh my God, just try harder. My God.
The Supreme Court said, no, he's Attorney General. He's going nowhere.
Christ, Indiana, you would have to crawl up to end up in the gutter.
So now, sex creep Curtis Hill had a chance for his revenge against the governor, because we all know Curtis Hill is the actual victim in all of this. So Curtis was approached by 4 state Republican representatives and senators, asking whether or not this new executive order from Holcomb was constitutional or not, to which Curtis Hill said he was overstepping his legal authority by declaring that people had to wear masks and that they would be punished legally if they did not. And now with the Attorney General on their side, people in Indiana threw a fucking fit. And as is tradition in these corona times, Holcomb would buckle. And while he would issue a mask mandate, it would no longer come along with the misdemeanor charge. Instead, it would now be up to the county and city health departments to educate people who chose not to wear masks. And then COVID went away forever.
Oh, those poor public health servants.
Yeah, it's like, it was kind of worded that it's like, all right, if you work for the health department, walk around the city, and if you see someone not wearing a mask, grab a chair, turn it around backwards, and ask them if they would like to rap with you.
It's like saying, hey, so I'm gonna need you to go up to that firing squad and explain to them what bullets can do to a body.
Oh my God. Yep. So despite the change in charging people, the seeds of discontent had already been sown. People were already furious that he'd closed down restaurants and churches and other things. And the various anti-mask dipshits hit their breaking point. And what was once an easy victory for Holcomb created an opening in the race. An opening that could easily be filled by a libertarian, because of course it would be.
Yeah, now's the time. Seize the day.
So Indiana libertarians had 2 choices for governor at their state convention. Grand Poobah of the First Church of Cannabis, Bill Levin, and their eventual nominee, Navy veteran and software engineer Donald Rainwater. Now, I know those sound like diametrically different jobs, but those are both the most libertarian candidates I've ever heard in my life.
100%. That the fact that those 2 were up for party nomination, I think that's beautiful. That is libertarianism. It's like one guy who's just like, we should be allowed to smoke weed. Another guy who's like, I may have been a mercenary in Afghanistan.
I'm a mercenary. I know Anaconda and various other coding languages, and also no government, please.
Yes, correct.
So when it comes to third-party candidates, Donald might actually have one of the most impressive resumes out there of the 3 people that we're talking about. His first campaign was in 2016 when he ran for Indiana State Senate, and he'd finish in 3rd with 4.77% of the vote. He'd run again in 2018, this time for the State House, and once again he'd finish 3rd, but this time with only 2.77% of the vote. But his big run, though, would come in 2019 when he ran for mayor of his hometown of Westfield, Indiana. Now, Donald would be the only other candidate running against 3-term Republican incumbent Andy Cook. What got Donald interested in challenging Cook, though, was the fact that the city was in debt by more than $180 million, mainly
Whoa.
due to a sports complex that had been built to increase tax revenue.
No.
And there was like another entertainment venue that Andy Cook was wanting to build as well. That's already been getting a lot of people showing up, like a distillery and other entertainment things like that. But people are like, we're kind of broke. Why are you doing this?
Please stop. Please stop, Mr. Music Man.
And while Cook has been criticized for his projects, he hadn't faced an actual challenger since 2011. And not to mention that when Donald ran against him, Cook had about $115,000 in cash on hand, while Donald topped out at around $5,000, which makes it all the more impressive that Donald ended the race with 39.6% of the vote.
Oh, damn.
And so as a gubernatorial candidate, it's safe to say that Donald is a full tilt, capital L libertarian. He's the most libertarian to ever-tarian. He's just
Oh, boy. Oh,
like, if you had a machine that made old white libertarians, you'd get Donald every time. His campaign has been getting the bulk of support from the fact that he views literally all of Holcomb's COVID-based executive orders as illegal and unnecessary. Once again, libertarian optimism dictates that people will always do what is in their best interests, and that they are the best deciders of their own level of risk. So if you want to go into a crowded Pizza King without a mask in the middle of the deadliest pandemic since 1920, then by God, that's your fucking right.
Yep.
It also doesn't help that the Indy Star has declared Rainwater's tax plan to be, quote, tin hat crazy.
Wow. Good job, Indy Star.
I would have loved to have read more of it, but you have to subscribe to be able to read the whole thing.
Boo.
Look, guys, I know the newspaper industry is dying. I cannot give you $5.
Absolutely not.
And so his tax plan is to abolish personal income tax, abolish residential property tax, eliminate yearly vehicle registration, and remove the excise tax on gas. Now, granted, for this information, I'm using 2007 budget numbers, but I imagine not much has changed. But based on that, Donald's tax plan would remove 2/3 of the state's yearly budgetary income, which means a fuck ton of programs and departments would need to be cut, which means libertarian utopia time, y'all. Let's fucking do this. It's never gone badly. Citation future episodes where libertarian utopias have gone badly.
My God.
There's at least 2.
All you have to do is look at how Kansas turned out versus how Minnesota turned out. That's it. That is it.
Yep.
Proof of the pudding is in the taste. I'm just saying, but I will add the delightful irony of the fact that this man will need to change his name from Rainwater to Acid Rain after all of these after all of these regulations disappear and the environment is fucked.
But you'll have more money?
No, you won't. No, you won't.
So to be fair, Donald does also support legalizing weed, banning civil asset forfeiture, and lowering the legal drinking age to 18.
Oh, that's how you get the young vote. That's it.
But he's also anti-vax, and a rare addition for libertarians is anti-abortion.
Wow.
Yeah.
The anti-vax, we're talking about a state that had, like, when you mentioned the HIV/AIDS outbreak, I wasn't sure if you were talking about the 1980s or a couple years ago.
Yeah, Indiana has a bad history when it comes to dealing with epidemics and pandemics.
But it is worth
AIDS. Yeah.
It's worth listeners realizing that when Mike Pence completely shut down Planned Parenthoods across the state and took away all kinds of money for needle exchange sites and things like that, huge outbreak of AIDS, huge. Like, it was a pandemic before we had COVID.
Yeah, it's a whole state of shocked Pikachu face. It's just, and Oona, that's it. That's literally the only reason that Donald Rainwater has a chance to win this election, because of fucking masks.
I hate Indiana as a state. So why is it so dumb?
So you have Woody Myers, who's a health expert, and he's openly said, yeah, I would include punishment for not wearing masks, and I'm going to amp up COVID restrictions, and I'm going to do all these things that we need to fucking do so more people don't die.
Yeah.
And Holcomb, I mean, he's pissed off a whole cadre of anti-mask COVID is a myth, chemtrails, and Q dipshits. And Donald's really the only one there to pick up the loss of support. But the thing is, it's not just lip service. He fully agrees with them. He is a true fucking believer. But Oona, can he win?
I don't know, Dusty. Can he win? It's Indiana. I don't trust anything.
No, he also can't.
Oh, okay.
So the poll that made things look dangerously close came on September 7th via Change Research, showing Holcomb with 36% of the vote, Myers with 30%, and Rainwater with 24%, leaving a whole 10% left undecided. Since then, though, the undecideds have coalesced around Holcomb. In the most recent Indiana gubernatorial poll conducted by Survey USA on October 13th, Rainwater sits at about 10%, with Holcomb at 55%. But with huge spikes in even more COVID between the 13th and Election Day, Rainwater might just be one Holcomb executive order away from taking back those votes.
Wow.
It's not super likely, but there's a lot of pissed off people who seem very gung-ho to vote for Rainwater just to make a fucking point. Which leads us to our last one. We're moving from Indiana to the blessed state of Arkansas.
Yay!
Now, I know you're worried.
Walmart country.
I know you're very worried when I say Arkansas. But if there is any major race in the 2020 election cycle more bonkers and unexpected than this one, I would love to know. And first, to set the stage, we have to talk about the arch villain of this tale, Republican Senator Tom Cotton.
Oh, Tom Cotton.
So here in America, Tom Cotton is the name that comes up most often when people think of a smart Trump. The nightmare scenario is that if Trump loses, then 2024 will be when Cotton runs for president on a less gaffe-laden and equally fascist campaign where he becomes King Fash of America. But why would we believe this? Well, here's a tasting, a simple amuse-bouche, I suppose, of Tom's greatest hits. Claiming racism would go away if we just stopped talking about it. Stating America, a country with the highest incarceration rate in the world, isn't jailing enough people. Called slavery a necessary evil. He's described the Southern Poverty Law Center as a political hate group. Says systemic racism amongst police and the judicial system is a myth. He co-sponsored a bill that would make protesting against or boycotting Israel a crime. He floated the conspiracy theory that the coronavirus was actually made by the Chinese government. He really super wants a war with Iran. He suggested the idea that America should buy Greenland, which Trump took a lot of the heat for. But probably the worst thing he's done this year is he wrote an op-ed piece for the New York Times entitled "Send in the Troops," declaring the military needs to attack and shut down people protesting police violence in America.
Yeah. And for that, the Times needs to apologize every day.
Yeah, it was
like
not a good
every day. Also, I like for listeners, if you're hearing this list and thinking, "Wow, this guy's an idiot," yes, please remember, a smart Trump is still an idiot.
Yeah, that is a really good way to put it. He's probably the most evil senator we have right now, and that's a tough race, but I think he's won it.
Yeah.
And so to make things even more interesting, instead of Tom campaigning in Arkansas, he's been spending most of 2020 running ads and campaigning alongside candidates in other states, most notably Georgia.
Stay in your lane, bro.
Nah, he's running for president now. Whether Trump wins or not, 2024, you're going to need a new candidate, maybe, unless Trump rewrites the Constitution, which if he does, I guess Tom's supporting it. I don't fucking know. So, Oona, how the fuck did this happen? How did we allow Tom Cotton, a monster man in a weasel suit, to be able to just run for president now?
Yeah, how did it happen, Dusty?
Well, with all terrible things, it begins with the Democrats.
Oh.
You see, the Democrats had nominated a guy by the name of Josh Mahoney. Josh initially came into the political scene in 2018 when he ran for the U.S. House in Arkansas's 3rd District. He would get his ass completely handed to him by Republican incumbent Steve Womack. But Josh was also the first Democrat to run for the seat since 2010 and was the first Democrat to break 30% of the vote since 2006. So when the 2020 Senate race came around, Josh put his name into the Democratic nomination along with no one else. It wasn't even a thing where the Democratic Party is like, we believe in Josh so much that no one else should run. No one else applied. There had been rumors that former general and 2004 Democratic presidential nominee Wesley Clark was considering a run, but this is a rumor that kind of pops up every Senate election cycle that Wesley Clark is finally going to win the Democrat seat for Arkansas, and it never goddamn happens.
Arkansas Dems, you gave us Billy C. Like, I know you got a deep bench in there somewhere.
Also, fun fact, I don't know how much you know about one-hit wonder James Blunt, singer of You Are Beautiful.
I mean, I remember the song.
Yeah. So James Blunt used to be a special forces guy in Britain, and he was present during, I believe it was the war in Kosovo. And while he was there, he claimed that after that, towards the end of the war, General Wesley Clark, who was running the UN special forces at the time, tried to start a war with Russia by knowingly attacking Russian troops, and James Blunt actively ignored that order as a way to avert World War III. This is something he claimed on an episode of Top Gear, and knowing James Blunt, I 100% believe him. Not knowing him personally, but knowing him as a Twitter person.
And then he went on to write the one-hit wonder, You're Beautiful?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. This man contains multitudes.
James Blunt's a decent soul. He's a good
soul. That is great.
So anyway, back to Arkansas. But
Okay.
you know what? Look, this is better than no one applying for the job. We got someone. He at least has experience. Let's run with this. But the thing is, though, there's the question of who the fuck even is Josh? He's kind of brand new. He's only run in one race. And that's a question that the Democratic Party probably should have asked in more detail. But they
Oh
didn't.
no.
But Tom Cotton's campaign absolutely did.
No, no.
So it turns out Josh's wife is an executive at Walmart, vice president, if I remember correctly. And Josh, according to info gained by the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, would describe himself as a, quote, full-time candidate. Which is weird because on his campaign website and campaign materials and FEC paperwork, he referred to himself as the owner-executive of a natural resources company called EAM LLC, a company that he had actually sold his stake in more than a year before the Senate race. And when asked by the Democrat Gazette, when was the last time that you had a full-time paying job? Mahoney stated, quote, I'm not certain. I'd have to go back and look. Frankly, I haven't put a lot of thought into that.
What?
Turns out that Josh had a bit of a habit about joking about how he hasn't had a job in a really long time and would joke about it amongst people in the campaign and other people he was just joking around with and secretive GOP operatives who were videotaping him.
What?
And probably one of the funnier things, there was a GOP operative who directly asked him what his job was, and into a hidden camera, Josh joked that he is a full-time candidate and can't remember the last time he had a job.
Okay. That is not, if I'm a voter, that's not a good look for me. I want like, cause yeah, I want the person who's like, well, I've been bartending and
Yeah,
just trying to pay down my student loans. Like that's who I want.
yeah,
But I will say he could have spun this so much in his favor by openly admitting that he was a house husband. I say
exactly.
like embrace it, normalize it.
There
Your
is
wife is
literally
an exec?
there is
Yeah.
nothing wrong in this day and age in being a house husband. Fucking all the power
100%.
to you if that is what you're
Yes.
doing. Fucking flipping gender roles, redefining masculinity, fucking do that shit.
Yeah.
But the way it's coming off in this regard is he's like, paying work, who fucking does that? Not this guy.
Yeah, no, and in which case I'm like, you can continue just being a full-time candidate because I'm not voting your ass into an office.
So the big problem with what Josh was doing is, like I said, he was filing that he was an owner of a company on his FEC paperwork. And by doing so and lying, he was kind of committing a crime.
Idiot.
But that's not everything. The Cotton campaign found out via Steve Womack that his campaign had found that Josh had a tax lien due to nearly $4,000 in unpaid taxes. But since Steve was set to win the race, he didn't really feel a need to make that public. And even worse beyond this, Josh repeatedly either fucked up paperwork he was legally obliged to send to the Federal Elections Commission or just completely missed deadlines over and over and over again. One piece of paperwork he filed 5 times over the span of 38 days because he either kept fucking it up or just completely omitting information he was legally required to include.
Who is his campaign staff?
I don't
What is
know.
happening?
I mean, I guess he can't force Josh to do paperwork, but I don't know. Because he did have a campaign manager who seemed very flustered in general, but
Well, sure, but I just figure like someone's got to be around to like double check the work.
so the Cotton campaign waited until after the filing deadline had passed. And after seeing Josh was the only person to file for the position and became the de facto nominee, they contacted him and presented him with all the things that they had found.
Oh boy.
And the campaign essentially asked, Hey Josh, would you like to drop out? To which Josh said, Yes, I would very much like to drop out right now. So 2 afters after becoming the nominee for Senate, Josh would drop out. And he wouldn't even call the state Democrats first to let them know. Citing a, quote, serious medical issue on social media, Josh dropped out online. And thanks to Arkansas law, the Democrats were stuck in a tough spot. Normally, they would have a chance to pick their own replacement nominee, but they're only allowed to do that in the event of the candidate dying. And since Josh was still alive, the Democrats are now completely off the ballot of the Arkansas State Senate race.
Alive, but I'm sure wished dead.
Yeah. Yeah, he's done. He should be done. You have burned a very shitty bridge. But lucky for Arkansas liberals, they did have another option. An independent progressive activist by the name of Dan Whitfield. But Dan would run into a huge brick wall that affected a lot of third-party candidates this year. A little thing called COVID. See, the big issue with most third-party people is they have to gain petitions. They have to gain signatures to get onto the ballot. And it's usually hard to do even in normal circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And the traditional way you do that is you go out in public with a clipboard and you just ask people to sign. You ask them if they're registered voters and please sign so I can be on the ballot. And in the midst of a pandemic, there's really no safe way to do that traditionally.
Yeah.
And turns out Dan wasn't able to get as many signatures as he needed. He would sue, but the lawsuit isn't expected to be conducted until after the election. So Dan is dropped out and is refocused on running for the 2022 Senate race against John Boozman, which leads us to our man of the hour. The only person facing Tom Cotton, Libertarian nominee Ricky Dale Harrington Jr.
Oh, that's a name.
It's a great name. Now, I know in the past we've said a lot of things about libertarians, some things only 20 minutes ago. So when I say this, it carries a ton of weight. I fucking love Ricky Dale Harrington Jr. And this isn't ironic. I love this guy. He is a fantastic fucking candidate. And if the Libertarian Party wants to get their fucking act together, he needs to be their presidential nominee in 2024.
Oh, lay it on me, Dusty.
So who is Ricky? Well, Ricky is an African-American dude who was born in Texas and during his youth describes himself as a, quote, God-hating atheist. At one point, though, he decided that if he was going to debate Christians on the validity of their religion, he should probably read the Bible so his points would actually carry more weight. Ricky would state, I wanted to lay my charges against Christianity by learning what it is about. He then says with a chuckle, and I lost. At the age of 19, Ricky would enter into the ministry and begin studying in Scotland.
Wow.
This guy is full of so many quotes that I wish I could add, just because he's such a clever motherfucker and has such a good way with words. But one of the things he said is, if you're in Scotland and they aren't making fun of you, it's a true sign that they do not like you.
Oh.
So after studying in Scotland, he'd return to Arkansas and gain his degree in ministry at Harding University, where he also worked as a chaplain at a local psychiatric hospital. He spent 2 years after graduating doing mission work in China before returning to America in 2016. It's this time in China that he really kind of built up a hatred towards people using communism as a boogeyman in American politics.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, because he's like, I know what communism is. I know what it can eventually become and what happens in it. And just claiming everything as communism is an insult to what people are going through.
Yeah.
After returning to America, he was hired on as the chaplain of the Cummins unit of the Arkansas Department of Corrections, specifically for death row inmates. Ricky explained his work there as making himself available to the families of victims at night and making himself available to prisoners condemned to death and their families during the day. And hearing of him speak of this experience, the man is just empathy personified. And it also helps that he has a voice that feels like a cozy blanket.
Oh.
But in 2020, empathy and a soothing voice really isn't what you would call a best-selling tactic in politics.
It should be, though.
It should. So Ricky would need a boost if he was going to break through and compete. And that boost would come directly from Tom Cotton. So Arkansas PBS had a week of planned debates this year, culminating with a debate between Cotton and Harrington. But it kind of seems like Tom was just too busy for something like that. So Tom cited a moment back in 2008 when Democratic Senator Mark Pryor chose not to debate his only competitor, a Green Party nominee by the name of Rebecca Kennedy, and stated that he would follow the same precedent and not debate a third-party candidate. PBS replied by doing the same thing they did in 2008 and chose to turn the debate into an hour-long interview with Ricky. What resulted was the most wholesome and pure hour of politics that 2020 has seen, rivaled only by AOC and Ilhan Omar playing Among Us.
Oh.
In his opening statement, Ricky directly thanked Senator Cotton, quote, for giving me a great and wonderful birthday present, so I can speak directly to the people of Arkansas and make my case to be their representative in the U.S. Senate.
Yep, you played yourself, Cotton.
First off, it should be noted that Ricky's brand of libertarianism is much different than the old white dude libertarianism that you'd find in, say, some guy like Donald Rainwater. Ricky absolutely touts the libertarian ideals of liberty, but not at the cost of other people's health and well-being. He is openly anti-war and states so much good can be funded if we reduce the military budget via ending contracts with Lockheed Martin and Boeing. He stated support for the 1619 Project, calling it, quote, a story of a group of Americans that has not been told fully, and directly attacked Tom Cotton for not supporting it. So unlike other libertarians, he wants to continue these sort of social programs and actually encourage schools to maybe teach things that they should.
Yeah.
Ricky also supports the Affordable Care Act, at least to a certain degree. Ricky openly states that he and his family have directly benefited from the ACA. And if he had a choice of how to handle healthcare in America, he would take the best parts of the ACA and combine it with his favorite parts from Medicare for All.
Who is this guy? What kind of libertarian is that? I'm so confused.
Yeah, it's I would say, I think he takes libertarian optimism and does the best stuff with it. Because libertarian optimism feels like it lacks empathy so often. It's so self-centered. But this is libertarian optimism with empathy included. And I think that's what you're getting with it.
You know what it is too? I think there is some truth to the fact that like living in China, which is on paper, certainly a communist country. And so no longer having that like knee-jerk reaction to anything of like socialism, communism, that kind of like finally just erasing that fear and hate that comes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said before, Ricky has zero interest in cutting social programs and health programs. He notes this by saying, quote, no one is living the high life on $750 a month. and that if anything, we need to be funding these programs more.
Louder for those in the back.
He supports defunding the police, and even made one hell of a good argument to the more conservative folks listening. Here's what I love so much about Ricky during his hour, is that he almost always started the more controversial topics by bringing up the right-wing arguing point.
Because, this was his origin story. It's like, started atheist, read the Bible. It was like, I'll come to you. Don't worry.
And that's such a rare story in and of itself. Usually it's like Christians then read the Bible and then they're like, oh no.
Oh.
So for a guy to go from a God-hating atheist to being like, all right, there's some weird shit in here, but the crux of what's being said is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I'm going to run with that.
Yeah.
So when he supports defunding the police, he makes an immediate argument to say that defunding the police is not about hatred of the police, but hatred of people who use their power to deny others their constitutional rights and liberties.
Ricky, yes!
He is also against the death penalty, and he cites his work at the Cummings unit as the main reason behind this.
Yeah, I would bet.
But also citing the cases of people who have been exonerated of their crimes after they have passed. He personally doesn't support abortion, but also notes that he is a man, and he really has no clue what it's like to have to make that decision. So he has no intention of reversing Roe v. Wade, and actually refers to tactics of doing that through the courts as a waste of everyone's time.
Oh my God.
When asked what he dislikes about Tom Cotton, he doesn't hesitate to bring up Tom's statements on incarceration, and notes that the prison system operates more as a punishment for people via mental, physical, and sexual abuse, and for some has the effect of making them better criminals rather than offering a realistic way to re-enter without resorting back to crime. When asked what he likes about Tom Cotton or what ideas Tom Cotton has that he supports, it's the only time that I heard him throughout the time really kind of take a moment to think and then say, honestly, I can't think of anything. I respect Tom Cotton as a man, but when it comes to our ideas, we are diametrically opposed.
Yeah. Oh, Arkansas, make me proud.
Ricky states he fully believes scientists' claims that climate change is man-made, saying, I know God created this world, and I also know he created science. He offers a swift solution of ending all subsidies to oil and fossil fuel companies, and then throwing in that classic libertarian argument of just letting the free market decide what's best for us when it comes to energy.
Yeah, let me buy my solar panels.
Yeah, fuck yes. And finally, when asked what his first bill would be, he answers that it would be in regards to healthcare, and that, quote, it is a travesty that people go bankrupt just from trying to live. And in a winning move to my heart, Ricky proposes that what this country needs is a far greater availability of mental health resources.
Yeah.
He also makes a very interesting libertarian point talking about occupational licensing. 2 of his 3 children are on the autism spectrum, and he's noted that it takes a while for them to be able to find licensed people to be able to help them out. But he notes that the main reason behind that is that to get that license, you have to have a master's degree. And a master's degree is kind of hard to get if you can't afford it. If you can afford the basic schooling to be able to get close to that sort of work, he believes that if you have a natural skill and have proven yourself, you should be able to get that licensing without having to bankrupt yourself with a master's degree, which I've never heard that argument actually argued well. And it's the first time I kind of get it, at least from a libertarian perspective.
I hear that. I think with some professions, I am personally fine with heavy licensing measures, but I will concede the fact that it is so much a pay to play situation. I mean, it's not just registered nurses or occupational professions of that sort. Like the leaps and hoops to become a licensed architect, makes it so that it continues to be a very, very monochromatic old field.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I almost forgot to bring up COVID. The thing that rules our lives.
Yes.
So if we're going to play a little compare contrast between Rainwater and Harrington, Rainwater says, fuck it, everyone decide on your own, we're not doing shit. Harrington, though, he stays a little bit more libertarian by saying that things should be handled at the local level if there's going to be mask mandates. But he does note that if the disease continues to get worse, and by this point we weren't already in our 3rd wave and hitting record numbers, that if things get worse, it would be foolish to remove the possibility of a nationwide mask mandate. But when asked what he would do to improve the COVID situation, the very first thing he said is that there's really going to be no solution unless we figure out a way to depoliticize it. Because no matter how many good points you're going to make, if it's still political, people aren't going to follow the directions that they need to be able to stay healthy. And he also makes a point that we do talk a lot about the people who have died, but we barely ever talk about the people who have had the disease and are still suffering from the side effects.
Yeah.
That this is a long-term problem, not just a thing that we can solve and then return to normal.
Yeah, because it's not the flu.
Yeah. And this is what you get when you get a nominee who has worked in the prison system and has worked in the
Yeah.
health system and understands the issues behind both.
Yeah. Oh, Ricky.
But Oona, can he win?
Yes, please.
Very maybe. Very maybe.
Fingers crossed.
So Ricky had an internal poll conducted by American Research Group, which has a B rating with 538, which is pretty high for when it comes to like a partisan polling source. And before Harrington's TV premiere, the poll had Tom Cotton at 49% and Ricky at 38, leaving 13% undecided, just enough for Ricky to have an actual chance of winning. Now, Hendrix College would come out with their own poll before the debate, showing Cotton up at 63 to 28. But no polls have really been released post-debate. Not only that, but the polling company Morning Consult, in their last public favorability poll, had Tom Cotton sitting at around 48% positivity. It could be close, but there are enough factors for Harrington to pull off the upset. First, the Arkansas Dems need to endorse him yesterday and get all the state liberals on his side and out to vote.
Yes. Why haven't they? Oh my God.
Second, people need to get pissed that Tom Cotton is clearly more interested in running for president in 2024 than Senate in 2020. And third, people need to realize that Tom Cotton isn't running unopposed. As Ricky said himself, people are learning now that there's another candidate after being told that Tom Cotton has been running unopposed. And right now, I guess it kind of looks like I'm running unopposed with him not being here.
Hey. Oh, Rick.
But will he win? I mean, probably not. But I'm hopeful and very ready to get my heart broke over this.
Yeah, same.
I mean, Ricky is, I don't think we've really covered someone who I am just like passionately for. And I am shocked as fuck that it's a libertarian.
I know. Black is white, up is down. I'm shook.
Yeah. But you know what? Fuck it. I got one more for you, Oona.
Oh boy. Okay.
Because not every political race is about winning office. Sometimes it's about winning the greatest thing in this world. And that's love.
I thought it was going to be petty vengeance. Should be. It really should be.
Enter Bill Hammonds of the Unity Party of America. The Unity Party was founded by Bill back in 2004 as a way to try to get General Wesley Clark to run as a third-party candidate for president. Their slogan, not left, not right, but forward. That's right. Radical centrism is back, better than never. So since 2004, the party hasn't done a ton, aside from running a bunch of candidates for multiple offices in Colorado. And Colorado's the only state that has actually recognized them as a party. But this year, the Unity Party is running for president, and Bill's the man for the job. Sadly, though, Bill was only able to get on the ballot in Colorado, Louisiana, and New Jersey, which is good enough for 31 potential electoral votes, but about 239 short of the amount he would need to win.
Yeah, like a lot. Like a lot.
But the presidency isn't the only thing on Bill's mind. You see, if you go to his campaign website and click on Bill's bio, you get a bit of a lengthy history of the man. But the real gold is at the bottom. Quote, Bill bunkers down in Broomfield, Colorado, but from time to time listening to the SiriusXM POTUS channel during the day, as he continues the task of helping to develop and expand the Unity Party of Colorado. When not campaigning in Colorado, relaxing back in Austin, or successfully petitioning onto presidential ballots everywhere from Louisiana Gulf Coast to the Jersey Shore. And yes, for you hundreds of ladies who Google Bill Hammond's wife on a monthly basis, Bill is single. And Oona, the sentence Bill is single? That shit's hyperlinked.
I'm sorry, what?
I am about to send you.
No.
No, this is gold. You're going to find love. You're going to find someone.
I already did. I'm fine. Wait, what?
You're going to find more love. So for those of you at home, I have sent Oona a link to a page that you kind of have to search for on Bill's presidential campaign website entitled Bill Hammond's wife, is the candidate married? The first two sentences say no, Bill Hammonds is not married, and he does not have a wife. He is single and welcomes messages from single, patriotic, and attractive women. He does not use the Oxford comma, so he is a monster.
Thank you. If you were going to say something. Okay, so he's 44. It's an awkward selfie.
Yeah, so I was going to say, that selfie in and of itself, I cannot make fun of it because I cannot do a selfie to save my life. But Oona, I think you can, because if we're going to describe it, it's a selfie from the shoulders up. He's using both hands to do it, and he's wearing like a gray muscle shirt.
Yes.
He is also not looking into the camera, which I don't know if that
doesn't make sense. It's that kind of angle you try to take when you're taking the photo in the mirror, but he's clearly not taking it in a mirror. He's just seems to have two hands up to hold the camera, but he's not looking in the camera.
Yeah, it's definitely at an angle that looks like his nose has been broken at some point.
He also there's a smaller picture of him that he's got like a smirk, but it's clearly like a candidate photo because he's in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
He looks very different. That's what I'm like. They look
Yeah,
like
this
they could
feels
be
like sexy
brothers, not the
Tinder
same
picture.
person. What's that?
This feels more like a sexy Tinder picture than like a campaign
No,
picture.
because there's not enough skin.
I mean, I do
Also,
also love
this website is like a step up from a geosite.
that. Well, I mean, we might as well bring it up. On his bio page, he also has a thing called Bill's List, which is something he apparently created in the mid 2000s and kept running until about 2010, where if you're an actor or a writer or a model, you could submit your information and be added to a list so people could discover you for various jobs.
That is creepy.
It's not great.
That's him essentially having like a porn business on the side. And listen, do what you want or need to, consenting adults, etc., etc. But why?
Well, Una, I would very much like for you to read the sentence that is below the picture and the subtext of the picture, the very last of the black text.
Ladies, enjoy your day.
That's right, ladies. After seeing this picture of a presidential candidate on his presidential campaign website, looking for a woman who's patriotic and attractive enough to make him a happy married man. And to my knowledge, this is the first time I've ever seen someone use their campaign website as a way to try to find a wife.
Honestly, there have been worse uses of campaigns and campaign money.
I mean, honestly, I find it kind of sad that there is a spot to leave a reply and no one has done it so to date. Please do not do that if you're gonna like razz on the guy. I would feel very bad
Please
about
don't.
that.
Yeah, no.
Like only do it if you're both attractive and patriotic and single. Like if you're taken but patriotic, don't fucking break this guy's heart.
I just assumed the reply like went as an email. I didn't realize that it would like post
No,
in.
this is real GeoCities. This is like it goes into the post. You have to make a screen name and everything. But Una, will Bill Hammonds find love? Maybe not from his website, but who knows?
No.
Maybe if you're patriotic and attractive enough for Bill's standards, you could be Mrs. Unity Party by this time next year. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why you need to go out and vote. Look, the world's a kooky, messed up place if we're going to be very light about it. And yeah, if you're registered to vote and you haven't mailed in your ballots yet, please do.
Please do.
And if you're voting in person, please stay safe, wear a mask, keep your wits about you, and make sure that everyone around you is safe. And yeah, just get out there and vote. It's kind of very important this time.
Yes.
And hopefully, if we do this right, by 2024, I can come on here and maybe advocate for electing Ricky Dale Harrington Jr. for president.
Yes.
And not be an ironic hipster asshole about it.
Dare to dream.
So Una, how are you feeling about all these five wonders?
So many libertarians. Also, I just love that most of the polls mentioned today, it was like open relationship and then cuffing season. It was like that was the mentality for everyone being like, yeah, I just want to play. Listen, we've had our ups and downs, but like established parties, let's just try to make it work, at least through the winter.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I desperately want Harrington to win. I think he'd be an amazing senator. I think he would do an awesome job and kind of redefine libertarianism in the process.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Ways.
Yes.
I mean, Rainwater and Howe, let's see what the fuck happens. I do not want Donald Rainwater in charge of a fucking Wendy's, let alone the state of Indiana.
Correct.
And I mean, here's hoping Bethany Baldus ends up doing well. I mean, she's worked her ass off. She's put in the work. Would love to see her win. It'd be pretty great. And I hope Bill Hammonds, I hope he finds that love he's looking for. Yeah. I hope he finds a woman who will teach him how to do a selfie and what's appropriate on a campaign website, and maybe has him shut down his Craigslist for desperate actors.
Oh my God. Oh. Yep. I co-sign.
And on that note, everyone, have a happy election day. Get out there, vote. We love you all. Stay safe.
Yay, please vote.
Please vote. See you next week on Gadfly. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.